What happened to the biggest stars of 1985? 1 artists, 1 year, and between them, they sold over 500 million records, won dozens of Grammys, and defined what pop music sounded like for an entire generation. 1985, the year MTV stopped being an experiment and became the machine. The year the charts were so stacked that legends were knocking each other off the top spot every single week. You remember every one of these names. You know every one of these songs. But what happened after the camera stopped rolling? What the industry did, what life did, what they did to themselves, that part. That's the story nobody told you. Starting at number 10, Simple Minds. Number 10. And if this name surprises you at number 10, stay with me, because the story behind this one is wild. Simple Minds, a Scottish rock band from Glasgow, Jim Kerr and Charlie Burkhill. They'd been grinding since 1977. 8 years of albums, of touring, of trying to crack America and watching it not happen. They had a loyal following in Europe. They had critical respect. What they didn't have was a US #1. Then a film producer named Keith Forsey came knocking. He'd written a song for a John Hughes movie about 5 kids stuck in detention on a Saturday. He wanted Simple Minds to record it. Simple Minds said no, not politely, not "we'll think about it." They said no, because the band had a strict policy they only recorded their own material. Jim Kerr was clear about it. "We are Simple Minds. We don't do songs that sound like Simple Minds. We are Simple Minds. We do our own songs." Think of the tender things that we... Here's where it gets interesting. Forsey didn't give up. He took that song to Bryan Ferry. Bryan Ferry said no. He took it to Billy Idol, who he was actually producing at the time. Billy Idol said no. Someone suggested Corey Hart, who'd just had a hit with Sunglasses at Night. Forsey didn't think Hart was right for it. Cy Curnin from The Fix passed on it too. The song kept getting rejected, and Forsey kept coming back to Simple Minds. Finally, after what some accounts say was 6 separate attempts, Forsey arranged a private screening of The Breakfast Club. He sat Jim Kerr down and made him watch the movie. And something in those 5 characters, those 5 archetypes, every kid recognized: the jock, the brain, the basket case, the princess, the criminal. Something in that landed. Inside and out and love strange. Simple Minds went into a North London studio. They rearranged and recorded Don't You Forget About Me in 3 hours. 3 hours. Then they walked out and basically forgot about it, convinced it would be a throwaway track on the soundtrack of a movie nobody would remember. It went to number 1 in the United States, their only US #1 ever. Back together at heart, baby. Don't you. And then, and this is the part that still gets me, they deliberately left it off their own album. Once Upon a Time came out in 1985, full of great material, and Don't You Forget About Me isn't on it. Cause Jim Kerr refused to put a song he didn't write on his own record, even after it went to number 1, even after it became the defining song of one of the most iconic films of the decade. They've played it hundreds of times since. They'll play it till the end, but ask Jim Kerr if he loves it. He'll tell you it sounds a little generic to him. I'd be lying, he said recently, if I said we were jumping up and down. Sometimes your biggest moment is someone else's song, and that's a different kind of complicated. Number 9 is the story of a band that spent a decade chasing one moment and almost didn't get it. Forget about me. 9. Foreigner. Number 9. 4 weeks at number 1, and it took them 10 years to get there. Foreigner. 1976. Mick Jones, British guitarist, puts together a band in New York City with Lou Gramm as the voice. Half British, half American. That was the concept. That was the sound. Big arena rock with a melodic edge that sat perfectly between classic rock and the radio-friendly pop that was taking over in the late 70s and early 80s. They were massive, cold as ice, hot-blooded, urgent, waiting for a girl like you, album after album cracking the top 10. Lou Gramm's voice, that sandpaper and silk thing he could do, it was one of the most distinctive sounds on radio for nearly a decade. But a number one? It kept slipping away. Then 1984, Mick Jones writes I Want to Know What Love Is, and from the first chord, he knows it's different. This isn't arena rock, this isn't the Foreigner sound, it's a ballad, a genuine, exposed, vulnerable ballad, and Jones wants a gospel choir on it. The label had concerns. The band had concerns. This was a significant departure from everything Foreigner had built their identity around. Their audience expected something else. The men who packed arenas to hear Hot Blooded, were they ready for a gospel choir? It looks like love has finally found me. Jones pushed it through. He brought in the New Jersey Mass Choir. Over 100 voices. Lou Gramm sang his heart out. And in February 1985, I Want to Know What Love Is hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and stayed there for 4 weeks. Their only number 1, after 10 years. I've gotta take a little time. After all those albums, all those hits, all those sold-out arenas. But here's what happened next. The dynamic inside the band had been shifting for years. Lou Gramm and Mick Jones, creative partners, but not always aligned. Gramm wanted more creative input. Jones wanted control. By 1987, Gramm put out a solo album. By 1990, he left Foreigner entirely. And then, in 1997, Lou Gramm was diagnosed with a brain tumor, a meningioma. He had surgery. It affected his voice. The voice that had carried Foreigner for 2 decades, the instrument that made I Want to Know What Love Is what it is, was never quite the same. He recovered. He toured. He's still out there. But the band that stood on top of the charts in 1985, that specific lineup, that specific chemistry, it never came back. It took them 10 years to get to the top. And it took the industry about 5 more to pull it apart. Number 8, this one starts with Failure, and ends with one of the most famous videos ever made. Hey, if you've made it this far, then you feel it too. These songs, they're not just music, they're memories, moments, pieces of us, and every week, we bring more of that back. The sounds you forgot you needed, the stories you didn't know you missed. But here's the thing, you only find them if you're here. So don't let the next one pass you by. Subscribe, and stay with us on this journey, because the next song, it might be the one that takes you all the way back. Let's continue. 8. Aha. Number 8. And here's something that might reframe everything you think you know about this band. Aha, Norwegian. Morten Harket, Pal Gamst Walktor, Magna Furuholmen. They moved from Oslo to London in 1982 with $50 between them and a demo tape. They were convinced they were going to make it. They were broke, they were sleeping on floors, and they were absolutely certain. Take On Me was released in 1985, and it flopped. Nobody cared. They re-recorded it, released it again, flopped again. The label was ready to drop them. The band was out of money, out of options, and this song they believed in kept going nowhere. Then someone decided to try one more time, but this time with a video. They hired director Steve Barron and illustrator Michael Patterson, and what they created, a pencil sketch animation world where a girl is pulled into a comic strip to be with a boy, became one of the most technically complex and visually original music videos ever made. It took 2 years of development, hundreds of hours of rotoscoping, tracing over live-action footage frame by frame to create the animation. The final video had about 3,000 individually drawn frames. On the third release, Take On Me went to number 1 in 16 countries. It won 6 MTV Video Music Awards, including Video of the Year. It became the most watched video on the channel that year. 3 attempts, 2 failures, 1 video that changed everything. But here's what the culture doesn't give them credit for. Aha were not one-hit wonders. They had massive careers throughout the 80s and into the 90s across Europe especially, where they were as big as any act on the planet. They did a James Bond theme, The Living Daylights, in 1987. They sold over 80 million records worldwide. In America, 1 hit. And the Bop problem, where a novelty association with one moment defines how a whole country sees a band, followed them here for the rest of their career. All the things that you say They broke up in 2010, came back in 2015. They're still out there, still performing, still carrying that pencil sketch video around the world. Morten Harket, the voice, is still one of the most technically precise vocalists of that entire era. If you've ever worked on something and had it fail twice before it finally worked, you know exactly what those 3 years between the first version and the #1 felt like. You know that specific combination of faith and desperation that keeps you going when it makes no logical sense. Aha knew something about that. Number 7, 2 #1s in 1 year, and a split that left them not speaking for 9 years. 7. Tears for Fears. Number 7. And this one is about what happens when two people build something extraordinary together and then can't stand to be in the same room. Tears for Fears. Roland Orzabal and Kurt Smith. They met in Bath, England as teenagers. Roland showed up at Kurt's house one afternoon. Kurt was grounded. Roland came to visit and heard him singing. Just singing, unashamed, to himself. Roland decided then that Kurt should be the frontman of whatever they were going to build together. That's how far back this goes. By 1985, their album Songs from the Big Chair had hit #1 on the US Billboard 200, the only synth-pop act of their generation to top the American album chart in the 80s. Depeche Mode wouldn't do it until 1993. Shout hit #1 on the Hot 100. Everybody Wants to Rule the World hit #1 on the Hot 100. 2 #1s from the same album. And Everybody Wants to Rule the World almost didn't make the album at all. Roland didn't think the song was good enough. Producer Chris Hughes had to sit him down and help rewrite it before Orzabal would agree to include it. The song that has been streamed over 2 billion times. Roland Orzabal wasn't sure it was worth putting on the record, but behind all of that success, something was fracturing. Roland was the primary songwriter, Kurt was the voice, and over time that division, who writes, who sings, who controls the direction, started to create distance between two childhood friends who had built everything together. What weren't we at odds about? Kurt Smith said years later, musically we were starting to grow apart, and personally absolutely, we were starting to grow apart as people. The Seeds of Love came out in 1989, a massive, ambitious album that took 4 years to make and nearly broke both of them in the process. They toured it, and somewhere in the middle of a management dispute on that tour something broke. Not quietly, not professionally, bitterly. Smith left in 1991. Orzabal kept recording under the Tears for Fears name alone. He released digs at his former partner in his lyrics. Smith found it quite amusing from a distance. They didn't speak for 9 years. 9 years, two people who met as teenagers, who built one of the defining sounds of an entire decade, who gave each other the career they both have. 9 years of silence. They reunited in 2000, put out a new album in 2004, went through another extended creative standoff, released The Tipping Point in 2022, their first new album in 18 years. It hit #2 in the UK. Kurt Smith lost his wife during the making of that album. Roland Orzabal lost his wife during the making of that album. Two men carrying personal grief, recording together again after everything. And if you listen to The Tipping Point, knowing that it hits completely differently. Everybody wants to rule the world, but what most people actually want is just to not lose the people they built it with. Number 6. The most anti-MTV song that MTV ever made famous. 6. Dire Straits. Number 6. And this one is one of the great ironies in pop music history. Money for nothing and your chicks for free. Dire Straits. Mark Knopfler, Newcastle, England. By 1985 they were one of the biggest bands on the planet. Sultans of Swing, Romeo and Juliet, Private Investigations. Knopfler was widely considered one of the finest guitarists of his generation. No pick, just his fingers, that unmistakable tone. Money for nothing, get your chicks for free. Then Money for Nothing. And the story of how that song got written is the kind of thing that sounds made up but isn't. Mark Knopfler is in a New York appliance store in 1984. He's looking around, he's listening to the guys working there, the guys moving refrigerators and televisions, and he overhears them talking about the music videos playing on the store's TVs, about the rock stars on screen, about what a job that must be. Knopfler starts writing their words down on a notepad right there in the store. That ain't working. That's the way you do it. Money for nothing and your chicks for free. He writes it from the perspective of working class men who genuinely resent what they see on MTV, these rock stars playing guitar and getting famous and getting paid. The song is a critique of the culture that celebrates effortless stardom. It's skeptical of MTV. It's almost dismissive of it.
Listen here, now.
And then Sting added that opening synth line, "I want my MTV," and MTV played it constantly. The irony of the network's anthem being a song that's skeptical of the network? Nobody cared. It was too good. It won the first ever Grammy for Best Rock Performance by a duo or group with vocal. The video won Video of the Year at the MTV Video Music Awards. The first computer-animated music video ever to win that award. But here's the part that landed differently over time. The lyrics that Knopfler wrote from the perspective of those working class men in the store, they included homophobic slurs, words aimed at the image of a rock star they saw as effeminate. Knopfler has maintained those words were never his, they were the voice of the character he was writing. A blue-collar working man expressing prejudice that exists. He was documenting it, not endorsing it. In 2011, the Canadian Broadcast Standards Council banned the song from Canadian radio. Too many complaints about the language. Dire Straits had to release an edited version. 26 years after the song came out, the Grammy, the MTV Award, the #1 chart position, and then a ban in Canada a quarter century later.
Yeah, buddy, that's his own hair.
Mark Knopfler has been largely quiet since Dire Straits officially ended in 1995. He's put out solo albums, he's toured, he's produced. He stays out of the spotlight in a way that very few artists of his stature manage to pull off.
We could have some. And he's up there. What's that?
Some people thought that was strange. I think it was intentional. He never wanted to be the guy in the Money for Nothing video. He wanted to be the guy in the appliance store, listening.
On the MTV. That ain't working.
Number 5, the biggest charity record in history, and the politics behind who stood where on that stage. 5, We Are the World/USA for Africa. Number 5, and I need you to understand how insane this was to pull off. January 28, 1985. The American Music Awards are wrapping up in Los Angeles. Every major artist is in town. And after the show, instead of going to the after parties, they're all bussed to A&M recording studios in Hollywood.
But if you just believe, there's nowhere we can.
45 of the biggest names in music: Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, Ray Charles, Bruce Springsteen, Cyndi Lauper, Tina Turner, Billy Joel, Paul Simon, Kenny Rogers, and a dozen more, all in one room, all there to record a charity single for Ethiopian famine relief. There's a sign on the door when they arrive: check your egos at the door.
We are the world. We are the world. We are.
What most people don't know is what happened before that night. Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie had written the song. Jackson had come up with the melody sitting at the piano after the Thriller sessions ended. He and Richie finished the writing together. But getting everyone to agree on who recorded what, who got a solo line, who sang in the chorus, what order they stood in, that was a negotiation that would have broken most people.
Pretending day by day.
Here's what gets me. Stevie Wonder shows up wanting to do certain sections in Swahili, as a tribute to Africa, as a gesture of respect. The other artists are supportive but confused. Nobody knows Swahili. The harmonies would be impossible to follow. The whole momentum of the session is at risk. It takes careful navigation from producer Quincy Jones to redirect that energy without dismissing it. He keeps everything moving. That's a specific kind of genius, not musical, diplomatic.
When we stand
And then there's the hierarchy of the solos. Who Got a Line says everything about where you stood in pop music in January 1985. Lionel Richie opens it, then Stevie Wonder, then Paul Simon, Kenny Rogers, James Ingram, Tina Turner, Billy Joel, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, Dionne Warwick, Willie Nelson, Al Jarreau, Bruce Springsteen, Steve Perry, Daryl Hall, Huey Lewis, Cyndi Lauper, Kim Carnes, Bob Dylan, and Ray Charles closes it. Bob Dylan almost derailed the whole session. He was nervous, painfully nervous. His voice was doing something strange in the room. He kept second-guessing himself, doing take after take. Stevie Wonder, completely blind, did an impression of Dylan to help loosen him up. And something about being mirrored back to himself, that way it worked. Dylan relaxed enough to finish his line. That's the detail I think about. One of the most legendary voices in American music, so self-conscious in a room full of peers that he needed Stevie Wonder to impersonate him to get through 4 words. We Are the World spent 4 weeks at #1. It raised over $63 million for Ethiopian famine relief. It became the fastest-selling American pop single in history at that point. And then the format, the supergroup charity single, got copied so many times that it became a cliché. But in that room in January 1985, there was nothing cliché about it. It was 45 people setting aside everything the music industry runs on: ego, hierarchy, competition for one night, and they mostly pulled it off. Number 4. She left with 36 cents and a gas station credit card. And then she became one of the biggest stars in the world. To life, the greatest gift of all. 4. Tina Turner. Number 4, and I need you to hear this in the right order. Come to me wild and wild. July 2nd, 1976. Tina Turner is on a plane with Ike. They're on their way to a show in Dallas. And somewhere over that flight, after years of abuse that she'd documented and survived and kept surviving, something in her finally says no more. They fight on the plane. Physically, she arrives at the hotel in Dallas with a swollen eye and a split lip and blood on her white suit. 36 cents in her pocket, a mobile credit card, and that's it. She goes to a friend's house. She tells Ike she's done. She later said it was the 4th of July weekend, Independence Day. She didn't know it at the time, but looking back, she said it felt like that. The divorce is finalized in 1978, and then years of nothing. 2 solo albums that flopped, no record label, cabaret shows in Las Vegas, opening for the Rolling Stones at arenas, then going back to smaller venues. The whole industry had written her off. They'd seen what she was with Ike. They couldn't see what she could be without him. Every night and every day. In 1983, a Capitol Records A&R man named John Carter signed her despite opposition from within his own label. He believed in something that almost nobody else in the building believed in. May 1984, Private Dancer drops. It hits the top 3 on the Billboard 200 and stays in the top 10 for 39 weeks. What's Love Got to Do with It hits number 1 on the Hot 100, her only number 1 ever, as a solo artist, and wins 3 Grammys including Record of the Year. At the 1985 Grammys, she wins 4 awards in one night. She was 44 years old. Speak the language of love like you know what it. In 1985, she was on the road for 177 dates: Europe, North America, Australia, with David Bowie and Bryan Adams opening for her on certain legs, not the other way around. Tina Turner headlining arenas while David Bowie opened. Think about that for a second. She eventually retired from performing after her 50th anniversary tour in 2009, moved to Switzerland, became a Swiss citizen, found peace in a way that had been denied to her for most of her life. She wrote in Rolling Stone in 2019, "The emotions I expressed were real because I lived those feelings." Even Private Dancer, which seems to be about prostitution, but is also about wishes, hopes, and dreams, tells the story of women like me, caught up in sad situations, who somehow find a way to go on. She died on May 24, 2023, at her home in Switzerland. She was 83 years old. She left with 36 cents. She built an empire. She got out. She found peace on her own terms, in a country that wasn't where she started, with a life that bore almost no resemblance to the one she'd been trapped in. If that's not the story of 1985, I don't know what is. Number 3, she started 1985 as a new artist. She ended it as a superstar, and then the machine that made her tried to remake her in its image. 3. Whitney Houston. Number 3, Valentine's Day, 1985. Whitney Houston releases her debut album. It enters the Billboard 200 at number 166. Nobody Panics, 'Cause Within Months, You Give Good Love goes to number 3 on the Hot 100. Then, Saving All My Love For You goes to number 1. Then, How Will I Know, the video that changes everything, not just for Whitney, for black artists on MTV. Before Whitney Houston, the network had a quiet policy that leaned heavily toward white artists. Michael Jackson had cracked it with Billie Jean in 1983. That's documented history. Clive Davis fighting with MTV executives to get it played. Whitney came 2 years later and did it again. Clive Davis, her label head at Arista, said How Will I Know took the debut album to a different level by reaching young white audiences who were MTV's core demographic. Her debut album sat on the charts for over a year before reaching number 1 on the Billboard 200, 14 weeks at the top. It spun off 3 Hot 100 number 1 singles and earned 5 Grammy nominations. She won her first Grammy Best Pop Vocal Performance, Female for Saving All My Love For You. She was 21 years old. And she was the daughter of Cissy Houston, the goddaughter of Aretha Franklin, the cousin of Dionne Warwick. She came from a lineage of women with voices that could change the weather in a room. But here's what the industry did with that. They packaged her pop princess, clean cut, safe. The voice was real and extraordinary, nobody disputes that. But the image was controlled in a way that created distance between Whitney and her own black fanbase. There were critics in the R&B community early on who felt she was being positioned for crossover success at the expense of cultural authenticity. She married Bobby Brown in 1992. The tabloids loved it. The industry didn't. Her label reportedly tried to intervene. Two worlds her controlled, polished pop image and the rawer, harder-edged world Brown moved in, colliding in one marriage. Memories. By 2000, when she appeared on VH1 Divas alongside Mariah Carey, Mary J. Blige, Tina Turner, and Cher, something in her presence had changed. Still powerful, still unmistakable, but something behind the eyes that wasn't there in 1985. And I wish you joy and happy. February 11, 2012, the night before the Grammys, Whitney Houston is found in her bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills. The official cause of death was accidental drowning. Coronary artery disease and cocaine use were listed as contributing factors. She was 48 years old. She went from that Valentine's Day debut at number 166 on the charts to becoming one of the best-selling music artists in history, with sales estimated at over 220 million records worldwide. The voice that Clive Davis heard. The voice that changed the racial politics of MTV. The voice that Aretha Franklin said was the greatest she'd heard in her generation. It deserved more than what it got. Please don't cry. Number 2, he owned 1985 at 21 years old, and then spent the rest of his life trying to escape what that meant. 2, George Michael / Wham. Number 2, and there's almost no way to tell this story without sitting with it for a minute. George Michael, born Georgios Kyriakos Panayiotou in North London, 1963, son of a Greek Cypriot restaurateur who thought music was no way to make a living. He met Andrew Ridgeley in school, a friendship that became Wham, a band that became the sound of an entire moment. In 1985 alone, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go is the number 3 song of the year. Careless Whisper, credited to Wham, featuring George Michael in the US, is the number 1 song of the year. He performs at Live Aid at Wembley Stadium in July, and his duet with Elton John on Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me stops the whole show. He wins the Ivor Novello Award for Songwriter of the Year at 21, the youngest recipient in the award's history at that point. And he is simultaneously carrying something that the fame makes heavier, not lighter. George Michael knew he was gay. He'd known for years. And in 1985, in the middle of Wham's peak, in the middle of teen magazine covers and screaming fans and the machinery of pop stardom running at full speed, there was no version of coming out that didn't feel like a detonation. The industry he was in, the image it had built around him, the audience it had cultivated for him, none of it had space for that truth, so he carried it. Wham broke up in 1986. George went solo. Faith in 1987, 25 million copies sold worldwide. 2 Grammys including Album of the Year. Then Listen Without Prejudice Volume 1 in 1990, where he refused to appear in his own music videos, refused to do interviews, refused to play the game the label wanted him to play. Sony sued him for breach of contract. He countersued. A 2-year legal battle. He lost. Then in April 1998, he was arrested in a public restroom in Beverly Hills. A plainclothes police officer, a lewd conduct charge, and the secret that had been carried for 15 years became the headline. He didn't retreat. He went on CNN that week and came out publicly on his own terms. He released a song called Outside that made a joke of the whole situation. He turned it into something that was at least partly defiant. But the personal cost of all those years of concealment, that wasn't something you could make a song about and have it go away. The relationships, the privacy he'd never been able to have, the decades of performing a version of himself that was adjacent to but not fully who he was. In December 2016, he was working on new music, a documentary about his career. He had plans, he was still building something. Christmas Day, 2016, his partner Fadi Fawaz found him dead at his home in Oxfordshire. Heart and liver disease. He was 53 years old. And that's the number that still gets me. 53. With everything he did, everything he built, everything he fought, the 5 decades of legal battles and personal reckonings and music that could still make a room feel different, he was 53. Andrew Ridgeley, his partner from the beginning, his school friend, the other half of Wham, tweeted that night, "Me, his loved ones, his friends, the world of music, the world at large, forever loved." 1 album, 5 number 1 singles on the US chart in 1985 alone. And then she just stopped, not because she wanted to, because the machine finally cost her something she couldn't get back. 1. Madonna, number 1. And I know what some of you are thinking. Madonna? She's everywhere. Everyone knows the Madonna story. Stay with me, because what happened to Madonna in 1985 isn't the story you think it is. February 1985, she has Like a Virgin at number 1. It's been there since November 1984, 6 consecutive weeks. She becomes the first artist in history to simultaneously have both an album and a single at number 1 for multiple weeks. She's everywhere. MTV, the Grammys, every magazine cover. She is the defining pop image of the moment. And the industry doesn't know what to do with her. Because here's the thing about Madonna in 1985 that gets flattened into mythology. She was not a product of the label system. She had built herself. She had hustled her way through New York, danced, taught herself production, gone to nightclubs and handed out cassettes, pushed and pushed until someone listened. She arrived at Warner Brothers with a point of view fully formed. She knew exactly who she was and what she wanted to project. That scared people. It genuinely scared the industry. Because a woman who controls her own image and knows what it means is harder to exploit than one who doesn't. The Playboy and Penthouse photos from years earlier, photographs taken before she was famous, for money she needed to survive, got published in 1985. The expectation was that it would damage her, that it would create the kind of shame spiral that ends careers. The media coverage at the time made that assumption explicitly. She addressed it at Live Aid in July 1985, walked out on stage at JFK Stadium in Philadelphia in front of 90,000 people, said, and I'm paraphrasing, "I ain't taking S*** off today." The crowd went insane. She didn't apologize, she didn't shrink, she reframed it. And then, and this is the part that matters for this video's question, what happened to her? She didn't disappear. She didn't get swallowed by the machine. She became the machine. She spent the next 4 decades shapeshifting, reinventing, provoking, absorbing the criticism, staying relevant through sheer refusal to be finished. True Blue, Like a Prayer, Vogue, Ray of Light, Hung Up, every decade, a new version. Every time the industry or the culture tried to write her off too old, too provocative, too political, too this, too that, she came back with something that forced a reevaluation. She's 66 years old as of 2025. She nearly died in 2023 from a bacterial infection that left her in intensive care. She came out of it and went back on tour, the Celebration Tour, 80 dates, sold-out arenas. That's what happened to Madonna. She survived, repeatedly, on purpose, by design. And if the title of this video promised you that these stars disappeared, Madonna is the exception that makes everything else make sense. Because the industry tried everything with her. It underestimated her. It tried to use her, define her, contain her, and outlast her. It failed every time.